This guy makes $900K a month while traveling the world, using one bulletproof system. He's going to show us exactly how it works, how he runs it with just a handful of employees, and how he gets to travel the world at the same time. He'll even show us the exact content strategy he used to grow a community of 2 million people. But his journey wasn't always easy.
There was a point where we had been raided by the government. They were going to shut us down. It was like the biggest nightmare ever, all at once. And at first I was just panicking, had no idea what to do. It was like I saw my life flashing before my eyes. It was a very profound experience that really shaped my view on how to build a business that's formidable, that's anti-fragile, and that's valuable long-term.
This is Matt Gray. He has 1.8 million followers, and he's the owner of FounderOS, which has helped over 3,000 founders with their products, bringing in $900K every single month. But Matt wasn't an overnight success.
I ended up in a sales job at Kraft Foods, like Kraft Dinner Kraft Foods.
In fact, it took years of trial and error to get where he is today.
Day after day, going to 21 different grocery stores, managing their cheese presents, salad dressings, and Kraft Dinner on the shelves. To say I was depressed would be an understatement.
In the beginning, Matt thought that success meant jumping headfirst into a business, learning as many skills as possible, and networking with people to try and stand out.
And so what I leaned on was just, I'm gonna pick up as many skills as I can and start meeting other people.
He thought that if he just put his head down and tried to make himself stand out from the competition, he'd be able to create something that would bring him more satisfaction than a boring sales job.
I thought if I could level up and become, instead of one-dimensional and just knowing sales, and I could maybe learn how to code, learn some design, learn how to build a website.
So he and a couple of friends got together and began to work on BitMaker.
And one thing led to another, and we started a business called BitMaker, where we train full stack software engineers and got them jobs at tech companies like Shopify, Facebook, IBM, Hootsuite. I had learned over the course of the last few years that like the real opportunity is to actually own something, have equity in a business that you run and control your destiny. And I knew I wanted to find a way to do that, but I really didn't know how.
BitMaker turned out to be a success. Over the course of a few years, they were able to train over 2,000 software engineers.
Now, I'd love to say that it was all rosy and rainbows and unicorns once I got going with BitMaker, but truthfully, it was anything but that. 90% of students were getting jobs within 1 month of graduating. So we had created something special, but clearly this one enforcement agent from the Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities in Ontario felt a little differently.
BitMaker was going to get shut down, and it looked like there was nothing Matt could do.
There was a point where we had been raided by the government. They were going to shut us down, and it was like the biggest nightmare ever, all at once. And at first I was just panicking, had no idea what to do. It was like I saw my life flashing before my eyes. So one thing led to another, and when I kind of finally figured out how I was going to approach it, about 12 hours later, I decided that I was just going to let every single person I had ever met over the journey of BitMaker know what the hell was going on, and kind of take a leap of faith, throw a Hail Mary, and just hope that someone could help us.
As a final resort, Matt placed BitMaker's entire future in the hands of his community. There was no guarantee that he'd be able to save his business. But then something magical happened.
One thing led to another, ended up reaching out to about 3,000 people over the next 18 hours, and woke up after, quite the grind to this whole situation trending on Twitter in Canada and the US. So on the Monday, we got this news. We were told we would be out of business forever and needed to shut this down. But due to the fact that we had mobilized an audience and built a bit of a community of raving fans, we were back in business in 5 days. So it was a very profound experience at, again, age 22, I think, that really shaped my view on how to build a business that's formidable, that's anti-fragile, and that's valuable long-term.
Matt wasn't out of the woods though. Even though he had just dodged the biggest bullet and was somehow able to save BitMaker from being shut down, Matt couldn't ignore the issues he'd been facing mentally all this time.
I was 21, young, dumb, no idea what I was doing. I thought I could be a great leader, but I was anything but. In terms of the day-to-day, I struggled with a ton of stress, really having no idea what I was doing. I used things like alcohol, other substances, to cope with just the feeling like all this weight was on my shoulders. And going into the office every day, I felt like the walls were collapsing in on me. And despite the business eventually being sold to General Assembly, it was super anticlimactic because I'd put basically everything on the line for this business and found myself in pieces when it was all done.
Even though he had successfully sold his business, Matt was at a crossroads. He absolutely hated where his life was at, but he didn't know how to fix it until he finally took a step back and reflected.
At that age, at 25, I looked back on a Europe trip I had done with 3 other roommates when I was 20. We went through 4 months, about 18 different countries through Europe, and then I went and traveled to Southeast Asia and traveled to Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. And this was just the most profound experience of my life. I wanted to find a way to experience that level of freedom again, because that was really the feeling that I was after all these years in entrepreneurship.
Matt realized that being an entrepreneur wasn't really just about bringing in millions of dollars or turning your business into what people think is a success.
It was all about freedom. Freedom to control what I feel are the 4 W's in life.
Matt believes there are 4 W's in life, and for an entrepreneur, you need to have control over all 4 of them.
Control where you work, when you work, what you work on, and who you work with. I think that when you control these 4 things, you control your destiny, and I think that that is what most founders are really starting a business for.
It's this mindset that draws Matt to lifestyle businesses.
I found it kind of weird that lifestyle businesses get a bad rap. And the truth is, I think lifestyle businesses are where it's at, right? And they are actually what I think most people should be focused on building.
Lifestyle businesses get a bad rap because they can be hard to scale, but also because there are hundreds of fake gurus on the scene who haven't actually done anything to justify their knowledge. But Matt thought differently.
Building a business that not only allows you to really take care of the financial side of your life, but also fills up your cup so that you can live, a healthy life, travel the world, have an amazing family, spirituality, hang with friends, and just live a well-rounded life as a well-rounded founder. This is what I built with FounderOS, where our mission is to inspire 100 million founders to unlock their dreams and achieve freedom through proven systems. And I'm a big proponent in building a business that serves you personally versus building a business that just runs you into the ground.
So how do you build a business that lets you control the 4 W's of life? Well, Matt found a business model that has allowed him to live life on his own terms.
For me, I start businesses not just to go and create something that I love and bring it to the world and create a movement and a mission and a vision and make it all happen. But the funnest part of it all is like having a team, being around others that all believe in the vision, that are passionate about it, and that we're all working together to do something awesome. So the solopreneur side, I talk to a lot of solopreneurs, and a lot of these people feel like they're burning out because it's all on their shoulders. You don't need to rely on Musk. You don't need to rely on Zuck. You can create your own media company in your own niche, build that niche community, and actually own that audience. You don't need to rely on the platforms. You can build a ConvertKit newsletter. You can build your own Kajabi community. The list goes on.
And for Matt, there was one key aspect to his business which he focused on. And this allowed him to finally move on from BitMaker and work on bigger and better projects, and eventually start FounderOS.
I think that it takes a community to raise a startup, and I think it takes a community to raise a founder. So fast forward to today at FounderOS, I help a lot of founders do just this in their businesses. And there's really 3 core steps that I see that are important so that you can go and build the audience that you're really after, whether that's on LinkedIn or X or on YouTube, TikTok or Instagram, it doesn't matter. So it all comes down to a core mechanism and methodology that I call the content GPS.
The content GPS is a method that Matt created after he realized that most founders don't know how to build their own communities online.
Too many people just try some spray and pray method when it comes to content, and it just doesn't work. You need to be intentional, right? You need to go and target the right people with surgeon-like precision. Most people just kind of are navigating the world of content and they just get lost. They're trying to figure out where to go and they're trying to put stuff out there, but then it's not actually hitting the right audience and those people aren't converting. One thing leads to another. They feel like they're spinning their tires. They're on the content hamster wheel. And sure enough, most of them just get burnt out and give up.
And that's exactly what Matt wanted to fix with the Content GPS.
So the Content GPS basically serves as a GPS to go and help you create the right content for the right people and sell the right product. The Content GPS, I think, is the most powerful system I've discovered over the last 14 years building multiple 7-figure and 8-figure businesses.
The Content GPS is made up of 3 main concepts.
Number 1 is going and growing your rented audience on platforms like X, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. If you're looking to go writing first, I'd recommend X and LinkedIn. If you're more comfortable in video, do the Instagram, YouTube, TikTok thing. The core thing there is to go and pick a niche that you want to start with, and ideally come up with 4 content categories inside of that niche. So my niche is $5 million founder systems, helping founders get to $5 million profit a year. And my content categories would be things like systems, marketing, community building, how to build high performance teams. Okay. And so what I write about is around those 4 content categories so that it's specific. And I'm also ingraining a word in people's minds that they come to know and love me for.
Your entire business offer should be able to fit into one word. And that one word is going to be the backbone of your entire business, customer persona, and community. The key is to do what works for your business and community, and don't just follow what the big guys are doing, because they've all got their own brands in place.
So James Clear has habits, Ryan Holiday has stoicism, I have systems. And when people think systems, my hope long-term is that they think of me, they think of FounderOS and the value we're providing there.
Your goal at this point is to think of what people will want to learn from you and what you are genuinely good at. From there, you can start pumping out content about it on a social media platform where your community will slowly start to form.
The next aspect now is owning your audience. You don't want to be at the whims of Zuck, Musk, and the rest of the gang. You want to actually control your community, right? So that you actually have their phone numbers and their emails so that you can actually monetize these people much more simply.
You've heard the horror stories, creators losing their only sources of income after a platform bans their account. They lose all their followers and their community is destroyed overnight. That's why Matt recommends building an email list. This way you can connect with your community without relying on social media platforms.
Kajabi is a powerful platform that I use to go and actually own my audience so that every single person that goes and purchases, say, a low ticket product or joins my newsletter on my website gets piped into my newsletter that I own. And now I'm building my own personal media company.
And the final step in the Content GPS is monetizing your audience.
Most people overlook this. They try to just put stuff out there unintentionally. They're not really thinking about this kind of overall funnel. And sure enough, nothing's working.
There are 2 core aspects you need to focus on.
Number 1, your call to actions or your CTAs. Your call to actions serve as like a net that you're putting out there on the internet. And when you have those done correctly, you're catching the fish from all the ocean of attention that exists online.
Because a good CTA is how you can turn your casual audience into a dedicated, thriving community. And the easiest way to get your viewers to join your community is to have a CTA all over your social media pages.
And so CTAs are things that exist like your link in bio on X, your CTA at the end of a tweet or the end of a thread, the link in bio on LinkedIn, the featured section on LinkedIn, your about section on LinkedIn, the end of a LinkedIn post. On YouTube, you could do them in the middle of a video. You put them in your about section, in your bio. So what a lot of people screw up is maybe they have a piece of content out there that's like, here are the 8 traits I see in high performers. But then they plug their newsletter or the product in a way that's just very standard. They may say something like, oh, by the way, join my newsletter. That's an error. You don't want to go that route. You want to make sure that the way that you plug your newsletter or plug a product is tightly coupled with the subject matter of the content. So if you're putting out a post on 8 traits of high performers, you may go and drive people to a core lead magnet that gives you the interview questions to go and recruit high performers. And then to get that, they join your newsletter. Thereby, you're creating this slippery slope where people barely even notice that 1 minute they're reading a post, next minute they're super enticed by maybe a lead magnet, the next thing they're in your newsletter, and before you know it, they're paying long-term loyal customer. And so the more sort of slippery you can make that slope from rented audience to owned audience to monetized audience, the more you have a dialed in content GPS. And I think you have the most powerful system in your business a lead generating engine.
The content GPS is only one part of a successful one-person business model. Founders need to break through any self-limiting beliefs they might be suffering from in order to find success, which is something Matt is all too familiar with.
So if you're just starting out, you need to first off get over your self-limiting beliefs.
There are plenty of issues and problems that founders might face as they continue to work on their companies. This can be perfectionism, imposter syndrome, or having a bad work-life balance. And Matt has struggled with all of these problems too.
There's many times where I step in a room and I'm worried about what people are thinking about me, or if the thing that I'm about to sell or market or grow or the community I'm building, if these things stack up to the folks that are around me sometimes.
Matt realized there are two major types of founders, and depending on which founder you are, it can make or break your business.
There's one type of founder, we'll call them type 1, that when faced with a limiting belief, whether it's perfectionism or analysis paralysis or not feeling like they're good enough or worthy enough to start something, they fold. They give up. They, at some point in the journey, just can't take it or get too nervous, or they let their emotions get the best of them. And one thing leads to another, and they stop doing the thing. Type 2 founders feel all the same emotions as the type 1 founder, but amidst all of those emotions, all of that, just oftentimes like the weight on your shoulders, you figure it out, you find a way. And I think a lot of the times people are looking for some sort of secret. And so I would much rather be the guy that has to maybe, work a little harder or make that hire when it feels a little scary, or step in front of that group of people and sell them, or whatever it may be, whatever that scary situation, that hard thing that you need to do is.
If you happen to be a type 1 founder, don't worry, because it's very easy for you to transition into becoming a type 2 founder. In fact, Matt had to make the exact same transformation, because Matt had gone from being too scared to move forward to finally taking the step and reclaiming control over his life. And he was able to do this by following one ancient Japanese concept.
So the best mechanism I've ever discovered for really dialing in your calling life is something called your ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese term that stands for your reason for being. It sits at the intersection of what you're good at, what you love to do, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs.
According to Matt, this is the best way to determine your ikigai.
I think if you can go and jot down, say, 8 things that exist in those 4 quadrants and then start to see the intersection of them, you may be able to come up with some things that you're really good at that you could get paid for, which I think is the sweet spot, right? So for me, when I went and did this, it was things like helping founders with proven systems, building communities day one, building high performance teams, design, copywriting, and the list goes on. And this is exactly what I formed FounderOS around. Now, the second piece to this then is actually creating an offer around this that's irresistible, that strangers on the internet can't help but buy from you. And so there are a number of ways to go about this.
Based on Matt's experiences, these are what he believes you need to do to create an offer that turns your ikigai into a successful business. One of the first things you need to focus on is taking your viewers who are interested in your content and turning them into a loyal community.
First off, I think what you want to do is, hopefully you already have content that you're putting out there. You've been sharing stuff on X, you've been sharing stuff on LinkedIn. See what content is resonating with people, right? There may be some signals that you're learning from your audience that you can then translate to a product or to the title of an offer. So that's one place to look.
The reason you want to build a community as early as possible is so you can start building an offer that they are genuinely interested in.
The second place to look is I like to go and just spin up like a Typeform survey and go and just survey some people that are in the core market that I'm looking to go after. So I may go ask them, what's your current challenge right now? What have you done to try and solve that challenge? If you could wave a magic wand right now, how would you go about solving that? What is this costing you right now in your business?
Those questions will help you determine what it is you want to sell and how you're going to help your community. Because the offer that you sell shouldn't just be focused on making the most money or scaling your business to the top. Your main goal as a founder is always this: to give your community what they need.
And depending on, the offer I'm trying to construct, I'd have maybe different variations of these sorts of questions. the cool thing here is that what you're doing is you're essentially getting your prospective customers to bubble up their needs, their wants, their desires. And not only is that useful for market research to understand exactly what you should sell to people, it's also useful so that you can make sure that when you do construct that offer, that you're formulating it in a way that uses the words of your dream customer so that it easily resonates with them, they can easily understand it, and it's going to be much more high converting. Now, along the way, stuff that I think is important to remember is that as you're constructing an offer, you want it to be 10x better than anything else that exists out there. Over time, I think all of us have this desire to create these highly leveraged, highly scalable things, whether it's digital products or communities or a SaaS product. But the truth in all of these great businesses is that in the early days, they did things that don't scale. And the cool thing is when you do that, you learn a lot about the problem. You learn directly from the customer. You're in the weeds there. And then you're gradually able to construct a more scalable offering. And the cool thing is that the done for you aspect is probably more attractive to some of those early adopters. In addition to that, I'm even sometimes willing, as I get an offer going, to even just work it with some people for free, just to get some case studies going, to get some early testimonials, because the most important thing to understand is people don't buy what you're selling, they buy what other people want to buy. And across my portfolio of online businesses, I've gone and run a bunch of different surveys, and it's generally around like 63% of people say that they purchased the thing because of a testimonial on our site or a case study that they saw. So it is incredibly important to have that proof, that overwhelming, proof that you're legit. And so even if you need to get some free case studies or testimonials to get going on that, I think it's well worth it. And so this is kind of in the early stages, some core tips that I look at to start a real banger offer.
The one-person business model is crazy powerful. If you're interested in building and monetizing your own community as easily and fast as possible, then consider building an email list and building a landing page with Kajabi. It's the exact tool Matt recommends to grow a dream business. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.